Okay, our third game for episode 10 is The Great Gatsby. No, it is
God damn you.
the New Zealand story, which was nominated by @Sprite Oddity on Twitter. Another super long time friend of the show. Thank you so much, Sprite Oddity. This is another Taito jam, by the way.
Taito Tuesdays. Nah, I
Taito
wish.
Something real
joint?
quick just
I-
right now.
Yeah.
Wish this was Tuesday.
I don't like the name of the New Zealand story, and I think the name that NES version got, Kiwi Craze, is way better and way more indicative of what the game actually is.
It
Well, I'm down
sounds like
for
a
any-
mobile game.
New
The
Zealand
New
story.
Zealand story sounds like a documentary, so I don't know.
That's a good name.
Well, also they turned New Zealand into like a single word, which is weird.
I mean, I don't think it's set in New Zealand, not New Zealand. It's set in some bizarre, like weird, quasi not real New Zealand, which is
It's like
full
the
of
Mushroom Kingdom version of New Zealand.
yeah, like because I don't remember New Zealand having that many zoos.
And
or
the
flying
most creative name
cavemen.
they could come up with was New Zealand without a space between the words. Wah, wow. Yeah, I mean, it was released in arcades in 1988. It is a beautiful game for the time period. I mean, even now, the sprite art is pretty top notch,
Yeah, Taito really excelled in artistic direction. It's
especially in this time. Like,
Yep.
this is
Oh,
this is
yeah.
really good.
They were really good at making great art without like any sort of like bells and demoscene sort of whistles. Like there's no like 8 layers of parallax. There's no like crazy stuff going on. No, it's just really crisp, really nice looking sprite art. Even there's not that many animation frames or anything. It's just really nice.
Right. Very, very good character design. That's what they did.
Yeah.
I think like the Bubble Bobble on up, they felt like character design is where we're going. That's the hill we're going to die on. And but really, I think it goes back to Space Invaders because those little Space Invaders characters are iconic.
Yeah, they had like
Right.
what, like 12 pixels in total, and they're still
but
like
they're all
Right.
still very distinct. They all have their own shapes.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they are clearly some kind of like insect or crustacean type thing. And they did a lot with the limited space they had. So really, Taito's sprite art, I hadn't thought about it until this exact point. But yeah, I mean, it's always been impressive. Bubble Bobble,
Yeah.
amazing.
they just had really good knowledge of how to use colors. Like, very bright and varied without making it look gauche somehow.
It's true. I mean, they have this kind of what was the name of that woman who did all the original Mac icons? Karen. Anyway, I mean, she's like the sprite art messiah in a sense, but because she was working with two, black and white, and that's it, and that's all she could use, and she made these amazing, really small, low resolution icons and stuff. But Taito was kind of like really, in a lot of ways, like a kind of a kindred spirit. I really got to look this up. Somebody else talk about the mechanics of this game.
in the New Zealand story, you play as a kiwi bird, as implied by the fact that it's, called Kiwi Craze in Crazy America. And it's, I guess, kind of like it's a really basic platformer, except they changed it into a sort of really strange... the areas are really vertical, and you can fly around by stealing, like, balloons and stuff, is the main
Yeah.
sort of mechanics. that's
Yeah.
going on.
All right.
Susan
It's just like
Susan
a-
Care, Susan Care,
Okay.
or Carrie, yeah.
While Cal's gone, Taito did a lot of these games, platformers that were pretty difficult, had a lot of secrets, a lot of hidden items that you had to look out for to do really well. That was kind of their wheelhouse, the Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Islands and games like that.
Yeah, I mean, it is it feels Bubble Bobble-esque, but it's not. It's a much more platformer kind of, it's less, I don't want to say less inventive, because it has a lot of interesting stuff, like all the little things you can ride on, that's really cool. And of course the artwork is awesome, and the character is super duper cute and all that stuff. But I was actually playing Rodland at the same time as I was replaying this. And I was like, oh, Rodland is Bubble Bobble-esque game that has a lot of, but it doesn't have the same level of character to it because it's just like kind of a generic chibi anime girl, character. Although Rockland is one of the very, very few games where you're trying to rescue your own mother. The only other one I can think of would be Psy-Raid for the Game Boy. But Kiwi Craze or New Zealand Story has like just the art alone, I think, puts it really high up there in terms of classic platformer, arcade games.
Yeah, I mean, it does certainly really look good. But as to how it plays, it's kind of in the acquired taste, to say the least. I mean, it does have an actual kind of level structure, except the structure in question is, in my opinion, pretty chaotic. It's
I always think of these kinds of games as giant box levels,
Yeah, it's exactly what it shows on the map in the lower left of the screen there, basically.
I mean,
it really is a
lot
box.
with the giant box. Like Bangai-O, does a lot with the giant box, but
True.
It's still a giant box. That's what it is.
I wasn't really the fond of this game for a few reasons. It's pretty frustrating, and I guess that's understanding for an arcade game. It's just that the level design has you, like, jumping over so many pits of spikes, and you're, like, constantly surrounded by enemies that are, like, shooting at you. You can't really dodge them all that well, and it basically just leads to you dying all the time.
Yeah, it is not a very nice game, to say the least. I want to say maybe if your Kiwi had a little bit of a better jump, that some of those spikes wouldn't be so bad, but...
If it gave you, like, 2 hits, that would have been kind of reasonable, but
yeah, yeah, that's right. It's one of those Contra-esque games where you get hit and you die, but you can't fire in multiple directions. You can only shoot left and right, so unlike Contra, so it feels... You don't feel like a badass. You do feel like you are often outnumbered and outmaneuvered.
I think it's the thing that makes it kind of like tricks you into thinking, this is like a Bubble Bobble iteration, but it's not. Because Bubble Bobble games, you can only shoot left and right, and you're kind of working in a big box kind of level.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, all of Bubble Bobble's action always took place in a single screen at a time. New Zealand, I almost wish that you could do that for that, because the level structure is, on the whole, kind of bad, kind of amateurish. It doesn't really have a particularly cogent level plan in most cases. I don't know. I just really wasn't used to it.
Got the secret exit thing, though, right?
Secret.
The warp zone.
I read that there were warps after the fact, but I have never found one.
It's interesting because I think they're in all versions of the game except the non-Japanese arcade games. I think
that. Did anyone ever discover that one Easter egg where your Kiwi can go to heaven and there's like an exit that lets you back into the game?
Yeah, I think that was only in the arcade version. I know the NES one actually doesn't have that, but I never actually got that far, so I don't know what to tell you.
The NES version has Tim Fallon music of, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah, definitely. For some reason, Fallon had a temporary stint with Taito for a few of the games that they licensed.
The reason would be that he kicks ass.
Yeah, of course.
And his music is like incredible, and like anybody with a brain would hire him to work on their game.
Well, technically, Fallen is a good thing. I just wish he had more than one main track to work with. I mean, it's a cute, bouncy track, but I kind of wish there was a little more besides that in the boss theme.
It's true. Okay, so I mean, where I want to put this is, I like this game mostly just because I like the artwork. I really admire the artwork in terms of just how much it accomplishes with so little to work with. But I feel like you gotta compare it immediately to Rainbow Islands, and I gotta put it below Rainbow Islands.
Right above Rainbow Islands, maybe.
Really?
Or maybe below. How about below?
This comes at like pretty much almost the exact same thing we just had just before with Zookeeper. The
Well,
New Zealand story tends to be just kind of like an asshole to you, but it's...
Well, here's the thing. New Zealand Story was released in 1988. And for the kind of game it is, it's not really that special, other than the art direction, which I think is really good, although slightly generic. I mean, you are kind of controlling a marshmallow Pete, but but it is very well done in terms of like it's very artistic, but I don't feel like the level design is kind of haphazard.
Yeah, a little weird mechanic I also wanted to mention that goes in hand with the level design. You have to take advantage of the improbable geometry of being able to actually jump through platforms a lot, and like you have to do this a lot to get into like pits of water, and there's no such thing as a ceiling basically, and it kind of gets tricky to dodge spikes sometimes when you have to actually abuse this.
Another thing, I kind of feel embarrassed to admit, but I got stuck in this game. I don't really know what it wanted me to do.
It wanted you to put in another quarter. That's what it wanted you to do.
No, it's literally cannot make progress. There's like a pit of water you have to go through, but the edge of it, you can't jump onto it. It's just too high. And maybe there was another route you're supposed to take. I just cannot figure out
you're
where
probably
the game
supposed
wanted
to
me to
jump
go.
on something, I think, and ride it over. I think is
there were some
usually
enemies
the
on
solution.
some balloons, but there was a wall in the pit of water, which meant I couldn't go past the wall.
You
so
couldn't knock the enemies off balloons?
Yeah, that's how you get them. You shoot the enemies, and they put the balloons behind you, ride them.
Is that how you? Was that how you're supposed to get over?
No, because the balloons can't go under the water, and you can't go through the wall, so you can't really cross the pit with the balloon.
I got past that level, but I feel like I don't remember.
I mean, you were getting off balloons and stuff, right? Because you can do that.
Yeah, but you just have no way of getting the other side of the pit of water.
It does present this almost puzzle, like figure out how you're supposed to get through certain areas, which kind of works
well to coin-op arcade games.
No, especially ones where it sends a pretty harsh time limit at you with some asshole with a pitchfork starts
very
chasing.
hard.
The time devil, as I call him.
Taito loves doing that. They started doing that in Bubble Bobble, and they kept on doing it.
Yeah, Count von Beluga, wherever that white ghost was called.
Especially bad though. Like you look at Rodland is later than this for sure, right? By a couple years. So in Rodland, like the timer element to it is mostly in like to get the bonus items, to spell out the bonus letter items, where if you can collect all the flowers on a screen, then the enemies turn into peaches, and you have a few, like maybe 5 or 6 seconds to catch the peaches, and then every one of them that you, I don't know, terminate with your magic wand, you get a chance to get one of those little letters. And that's how it deals with the timer mechanic and the speed up mechanic. I don't know that this game just feels like it's got a really cruel clock to it.
Well, being really cruel is kind of the name of the New Zealand story. It's the cute, fluffy bird game that is an absolute sadist to the player.
Yeah, in addition to this wreck of level design, you have all these enemies just flowing out of these gates that you don't know right until they're like right in your face. Although, to this game's credit, you don't take contact damage just by grazing enemies, which I do appreciate at least, but it still feels like they'll spring at you and hit you with some attack you don't expect. I especially hate those stupid bats who drop like a pointy arrow on you the instant they appear, and I've just been mugged by them.
You can kind of hover in this game, not hover, but float.
Yeah, you have to tap the jump button to utilize your wings.
Bobinator, is that the thing that you couldn't? Is that? It's not really important. I'm just
in any case, I'm happy with it just underneath Rainbow Islands. I think
once
that's fine.
Once the video footage is up, people can see where I got stuck and maybe
is it?
What I was doing.
Well, okay, so underneath Rainbow Islands, but is it better than Technocop in eSport?
I think it's a more accomplished game. I think Technocop wears you down just as much, if more.
I would put it below Road Rash, I think, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Like, I would put it above Haunting starring Poltergeist.
Admittedly, I would much rather play eSWAT than the New Zealand story.
I actually grew up playing a good deal of the NES version Kiwi Craze, and I used to like it back then for as long as I had it, but after many years and coming back to it, nostalgia certainly does not save this game, and it is in fact angered me when I played it. I don't remember it being as frustrating as it has been.
So,
Man.
how low would you put it then?
Between Mega Man 02 and I Have No Math 9 with Scream. That's just even lower. That's a little cruel, but I feel like the game just kind of scorned me. Like, I'm probably being a bit vindictive. I mean, yeah, I do like its artistic direction, but there's also a good deal about the game's actual mechanics and design that I just think...
Below Nightshade, is that a good compromise?
That was actually where I was originally going to put it.
Better than Live Alive, though, or Live Alive.
I don't...
Are we negotiating this down even further? Is that what we're doing?
Between Live Alive and Mega Man 02, then?
I want to put it above Haunting starring Poltergeist. Just because I don't want to play Haunting starring Poltergeist ever again.
Oh, man.
I might go with that just because I feel bad about ranking it so low. It's not a bad game.
At least Haunting is not, like, sadistic. It's not a massacre game. It's like, yeah, it's fun enough. You can play it. It's fun. This game is just, like, it will wear you down because it is so frustrating.
Yeah, but, I mean, also, like, the little, like ball on a rubber band stapled to a paddle has, like, more replay value than Haunting starring Poltergeist. So,
I know that's true, but is it the right kind of replay value we're getting here?
I don't know.
The segments where you have to do a lot of underwater movement are just so boring. They really just halt the game. And like the fourth area stages...
but
You've sold me. It goes above Haunting Guy.
No. That's
oh, Lord.
He's going to talk again.
I'd make it below. Okay, now let Xerxes go already.
You kind of talked me into it, because now that you mention it, like, I got to put it below Mega Man 02. I agree. Like, I would play I Have No Mouth again, but you actually changed my mind, because I don't want to say New Zealand Story is a terrible game. But
it's not. It's really not.
Okay, so.
All right, whatever.
Who disagrees?
Below Mega Man 0, that's...
I am really amazed. I'm really
against.
No, 4. We're all unanimous on this now, right?
Well, no, okay. Cal didn't say that. He said.
Okay. All right.
He acquiesced to the reality of 3 of us being. Okay, so that's
how it is.
We're done.
All right, and I get to gloat that I've actually convinced Xerxes for once instead of being pilloried as I was with Super Mario Brothers 3. But
yeah, let it not be said that I am unfair. So I don't know I can't say very much in my defense other than that I can be convinced as a person. That's the one redeeming quality I have.